I'll start in a couple seconds.
You're a cheater. Long Beach is a cheater. Louisville's a cheater. All you cheat. Read a plan. Defend the federal government.
Good afternoon, folks. This is Cal State Long Beach reporting from Austin, Texas, with important news coming from the people living in extinction now. Happy Black History Month to all my brothers and sisters out here. Can I get a witness?
This is an ongoing emergency. Don't panic. You're already living in the bomb. Have been dropping everywhere we go, from Long Beach to Dartmouth, from Long Beach to Austin. We are living in the apocalypse now, but it seems like the debate community have been accustomed to the wars that are happening now. I've heard speeches before the blast on our face off the bomb on Greenland, nuclear winter, mass starvation, people go hungry, and climate change. You want to know what we think about the topic? We do not think of U.S. China clouds, Taiwan, SCF, we isn't talking about Russia fear, U.S. for tribal SSU, Ukraine, not about AP North Caucasian, and the United targeting the Indian nuclear plant because the dirty bomb has happened things in the 20th anniversary, 9/11 time. We think about the nuclear bomb, slavery, dropping in 1526, taking African from their homeland and family being used property for the Western world for 300 years that took over 12 million souls. We think about the bomb, the men's president proclamation, false problem for political stuff from linking the game popularity to become president. We are promised 48 years and millions out of the bomb dropped us. We weren't getting it from slavery to Jim Crow, into slavery to the 13th, the same patrols to the police plantation, to redlining and segregation. The bomb is kept on coming back. The CIA, crack pigeon holding, like a million in the cycle of addiction, algorithm policing, and disrespecting the black and brown neighborhood, creating a violent atmosphere in the city of Los Angeles, Detroit, and Chicago, and more. Negative take action good. OU space doctor, neglect on medical, anti-black, the housing crisis, job discrimination, massive spread of HIV in black community deterrent good. OU the bomb, get black Walter in Tulsa, Philly neighborhood against Moon 63, Baptist in Birmingham, crackdown on black liberation, far time to tell also black people once here. A free for himself, no sympathy to change. How about and then 2028 for the victim, more people seen 40 of distraction, women 77 kilos, W6 Hill, by women, partner friendly, from 84% gender named by, but totally the press. Oh, I get it, the bomb doesn't discriminate, that's why politicians will bomb Mexico. Indigenous people are systematically derived at basic infrastructure like water, electricity, agent, hate time, all time high. US is helping Israel drop weapons of destruction on Palestine. We're not approaching the end of the world, we're already living in it. You scared of nuclear winter, mass starvation, the indiscriminate violent apocalyptic conditions. Been there, done that, from energy to insurance to disarmament to diversity convention to ship the topic boarding up a really serious debate that end. The universalizing discourse that nuclear wars are urgent impact to avoid whitewashing the apocalyptic condition, white supremacy that determines death before and after the bomb is backed up by my team. Nuclear weapons designing claims is the only matter of time in the nuclear nation during the U.S. and the nuclear religious discourse raising faith and implies when in the face of nuclear war, only one race remains. That's why I asked the American to look at different views than white before religions on God. Any American not only use the bomb of white from nuclear, is it will not be universal, but like Americans would be allowed to go and see some represent fear of black survival countries like exposed racism and the theory of extinction race determining the life of always more after the white family directed to the burial penetrance to real shelter before people color protected to my fleas to see effective unclear how effective it will be the future content opposite formula second post on collective data narrative of nuclear war and post on conditions safely offers hackers for disrupting it and crucial debate fears the different approach to the topic because the style of debate it associates black people with required to friends over its fears and loss of privilege with early 20 also began with their few black nuclear weapons that are getting not regular nuclear talk about the United Foundation American prices are the right to warn good times vaccine yesterday and black people are therefore something to securitize against in order to preserve white life for white people. White people like Letitia King, Ahmaud Arbery, Trayvon Martin, and many other black and brown people across the globe were due to the embodiment of civil defense publicly. The future of America comes at the deterrence of black futures that early 20 get attention to civil defense and the recent infrastructure infrastructure prevent some how can the war redlining policy call for black living only onto the black the value of the neighborhood with decline in every space the value of both black and future this is possibility came necessary for civil armed and civil defense and armed race in this world cities received his lord damage to millions throughout the city marked disposable massive defense like during life with civil life raising consequences of higher investment in nuclear companies negative infrastructure like high employment war housing we're talking about government communities every day to protect white suburban American fate no white American fail safe not only because nuclear threat but because within the annihilation back to the for violence to the racial crisis and from the destruction of black neighborhoods and supposed threats of nuclear war from another imperial power, the fantasy of nuclear conflict, and the search for the correct nuclear posture to create the benefit for the same violent infrastructure white services featuring was disarm the pedagogy that makes whiteness allowed to take oneself with nuclear weapons that's making 23 policing and this was the agreement that the service agrees with the nuclear fantasy taken with racist practice and the racist not being epic or episode practice and not jeopardizing the deal with the racial hierarchy based on nuclear policy take place in the German countries of political and racial organization and countries however many times of the city germane to the study and the appropriate dress out to move the highlights of the country disarm nuclear taking with directly and just with the racial hierarchy nuclear gender fantasy and not just going to get that way to produce a war the racial conflict is by genocide and nuclear scenario planning is therefore a form of civil defense that is formed through interconference. When you hear Michigan say the word nuclear war affect white people, black people too, the white supremacists this guy that only say black life is meant that white life will continue on living that present 2008. When we roll with the revelation, roll in the good attack, everyone thinking family like a prayer for emergency, women tending to, according to going on the aim, we're taking advice for each other, including white American, white movers, and the African movers, largest in the ground, they might be sort of the classes and below, is referred to with iPhone, intertwined, lanes, both equity, white, nothing, including African American groups, and the material into the white, and this guru, and our relation, fear, anxiety, war, keeping this spell, then activists will repeat the defense, teaching, race, nuclear education, ways, ways, and the practice, and the utility, the garrison, and to the overseas rehearsal, for the word new purpose of defense, and the calling, who doesn't identity has been enacted in a in order to consolidate from inside others. And black futures should not have to come at a cost. Black futures where the Briannas and the teachers can walk outside without a black worry, or worrying with black people don't gotta worry about curly hair, running job interviews, don't gotta worry about the popo pulling them over where love is there and hate is gone. Futures where the logic of civil defense justify the need for nuclear weapons to be disarmed. Futures where black lives have a roof over their head, doctors can be trusted, and books open at school have faces that look like them on the page. Thus, we some people should disarm the United States nuclear forces of defense. Do a topic after futures. On Black History Month, the ballot should go to the team that provide the best message for black liberation. It requires each side to present arguments couched in the black radical tradition, or if not meant the burden of honoring Black History Month. One, Urgency, Texas is a unique site to upload black voices from the history of lynching, enslavement patrols, Jim Crow to police brutality, mass incarceration, and Governor Abbott's book ban that essentially use debate as a competitive space to test resistance strategy. Two, anti-black. The second is reparation. The history of fairness in the black community, both inside and outside space, required epistemic active disruption during Black History Month. Jackson. Truly white parents feel like any month of freedom, black Americans not responsible for gender, like a concept of American history, and such as saying, vegetarians, months of non-identity, some crazy, but to take black Americans to work, fighting them whether other recognized or not, we can see the opportunity to honor too often neglected, of competence of black Americans, and black Americans have once since on the outside the white land, offering the criminal form of reparation, American history, past and present, really white supremacy, we must erase, destroy, act like bring all race, even if only for 28 days. And three is erasure from activists to scientists, black people have been erased from the topic that's eventually one men had the product of everything, and other black warrior really many other regarded as creating black scientists with aid, keep rolling the lemons, and upon the black that we do large ass, we put the introduction into the recording of war, the like working governments in group of 6 people foot circus here when the one none so no one women like ready for men and at the end for the back of the discrimination they feel very good and perturbed and or if you start that stories the restaurant the earth book and research news and with the team of friends the opera the guy to use the back of kind of the earth was the mighty theater rapid John the ever briefing George watching her reading the war watching reading the Lord watching in the Lawrence William not here with David Jim Scott and Jeffrey Alvin and Jeffrey time position you already not to use the bomb in the best way to share please the Tommy she's been for Williams want the Howard and Clark and back all these Richard the Intermission black sciences by Hannah Murray do there is the war and the set of American politics and the one they performed enemies by remembering the future through the past of slavery, which produces the general conditions for black lives. That's back in 19 nuclear and then for the nuclear war, not account for the large opinion in the world, top and freedom, affirmation, black consistent form of making black new Christians and have new life models, proper and development, also and nuclear jazz and means the act of the future and the work I have to say and means the future will set the most of the future primarily past versus primarily the past goals of your nonsense as he will read in the past Cooper will not talk to the right leading through representing given new vision future concept we are future rather than maybe just present ones. And in order to combat black futurists, we must align ourselves with the black and brown movements on the ground now that are fighting against the apocalypse from groups in Texas such as the Austin Justice Coalition. We must embody and align ourselves with the pedagogy of black liberation movements in order to create black futures beyond the apocalypse. Thus, our performance of nuclear jabs and embody purposes to form a protest that carves out the space for black resistance. That's Jeffrey. To the one jazz project being the revolution made into the white women's great jazz about resistance has been bringing up here jazz always been political and the black women not fighting the jazz sounds to be heard of the holidays right through the responsibility and ship and aim and family saving blood and go real from going out with the calling national guard block integration jazz resistance nuclear war nuclear because the read that's all it goes about having to do with the film rolling, but has to lead our conversation effects in the first week of the bomb here, she help with history, read the backwards and not erase music. And this form of the one they see is a form of post-memory that refuses circulation of white press in favor of circulating black resistance, which historically and empirically mobilizes community that also 23 out of me was writing was writing circulate back all the end of the white race interest and see black people all was with the reveal that when you white terrorism and you call black people got race into black press always inside Brazil protest and activism back also put memory is brought to watch and find memory education navigating intervening most violence and resisting the process of violence to make visible within the spirit white in the industry rendering and we come back many emerging that all the way out rather than memory also make to organize for the future also making a and on the past and the present memory offering you out of the past all the private people like the back community to organize and look at the instance violence which is a green for black people and potentially for the quicker mass of black people about the violence to come to the chapel offender and the bear ones is performed reading the ones in the wall till dread till that's where that's the black community the only gun like so right from the end, the press has immense power, and against the nuclear forces of civil defense and debate, we challenge the resolution to a radical state support necessary critical revolutionary class necessary to repel epistemic growth. That's mid-20. Was that 9?
I might have said it wrong.
My timer was set wrong too. Do y'all know what it is?
I said it. I thought I said it at 9.
I think I said it 9 too, but I think I paused it during the middle, but I don't think that was 9 minutes.
You can keep that.
Yeah,
We probably
Okay. Yeah, it's like I'll be done in 30
Yeah,
seconds, so it's fine. no timer, because I guess
Yeah, just.
who cares? I guess. Okay, I'll freestyle. Let's go. Balance change the understanding of the world. The critical start with the altitude, critical perspective, applies to resolution to argument, advocate for better start to status quo. Basically, we got history or anywhere else in the argument like keyboard, topic, military line, going. But be surprised to hear from the absolute to the military self-predictable link to the core of the topic and balance. These powers, part of our like teams, house of food, reveal, and important the negative ground, the arguments are indicated, case strength, the argument, the. Amended by property down the worst of the to market being down in market for using agriculture subject to feature on the bug. And official nuclear debates maintain a hegemonic frame of nuclear that remains in the status quo. 22 hegemonic nuclear survey non-proliferation talk of the test. The nuclear vulnerability of the nuclear responsibility of the set of understanding about state where working to have a frame the most effective way to lead our nuclear strategy and foreign policy independent. Presence of the of strategic weapon distance between hegemonic nuclear and nuclear critique of capital can be asked.
Okay, are you good?
Yes.
Okay, what's the value of negating one C?
We think that we'll make claims other ways. Well, we think that the Wednesdays outline a couple things, right? We think the role of the ballot should go to the team who provides the best liberation for Black strategies. We think that we've provided one.
So why is it valuable for the neg to negate your strategy?
Because we think we made inherency claims about how one CRT ban is happening right now, especially in Texas. We think that this space uniquely is key for us to test strategy that can be exported outside of the
Okay,
we think like
okay.
under our model, competition and negation is
okay.
good. Like,
so does your advocacy reduce nuclear weapon systems or delivery vehicles?
well, we think that one, we abolish the civil, or we disarm the nuclear force of civil defense. We think we identified civil.
What is civil defense?
So civil defense is the pedagogy, right, that determines who the bomb is pointed at, right? So for example, the precedent evidence gives examples of which kids and people in schools practice nuclear education through rehearsals and drills that consolidated a form of white identity, which is what allows for us to see Black people as threats and something to be killed off to preserve a white way of life.
That makes a lot of sense. So you said some people should do it. Who are those some people? Like.
So we said, I said we some people. We think that child. So we have made arguments for why affirming the advocacy through we some people is good because it challenges.
Who are they? Who are some people?
So we think like me and Diego have said that we have done it. It's not like a
just you two. That's it.
Well, we think that we have proposed the method. So it's
okay,
like.
So who would the method apply to?
So we think it applies. Well, we think that one the arguments. Well, first we think that we started from like firstly Black people, right? But Ida B. Wells and other abolitionists.
Only Black people are part of.
Okay, you didn't let me finish. I was literally about to say but you didn't let me. So firstly, Ida B. Wells, right, is somebody who is inspired and created the conceptualization for abolition to exist, right? So we think we started off with Black people, but that trickles down to help other marginalized folks because abolition is a pedagogy not just for Black people, but for all people under the guise of racial
So
capitalism.
does that cover every person in the United States?
Well, we think that there are certain groups that are marginalized more than others, right? We think there are people who benefit directly from white supremacy and others that suffer. So like for example, like Jeff Bezos, right, like probably isn't like Afrofuturism, you know, because like he profits from racial capitalism.
The other question I have is your backed above evidence is about oppression when it comes to the housing system and the U.S. use of atomic bombs in the global south. Well, it is aligned in there. The Ritchie evidence is about the non-prolif regime. How does he have to stand?
No, okay, so just thinking. The backed above evidence is about the criticism that happened within nuclear
sure. Maybe not
itself,
the housing
right?
thing, but it's definitely criticizing U.S. interventions abroad. Ritchie is about non-prolif.
Okay, well those are two different questions. You said housing and interventions, and that's like separate.
Well, so yeah, my question is, how would you stop that?
Yeah, sure. So we think it. Okay, so a couple things, right? The bearing witness evidence and the animesis evidence gives examples of the way that we conceptualize nuclear weapons and the world, and then circulating
but how
those
do you
things.
stop the government from going to?
Dude, like you, I'm about to start, and you're like, but how to do it? Like,
well,
you have to let
I
me.
just didn't understand why that part was responsive. Like,
Well, that's probably indicative of your model debate, right? Like you never understand because you never let people fucking talk.
Okay, yeah.
What?
So tell me, how does the government stop?
Well, now we're out of time because you kept cutting me off, so that's on you. How many is it?
6. And then yes. English not from on top of the United States with the government not private entities could attend taking over the U.S. or nation to the federal government dictionary consistent with this given interpretation only the term U.S. not include private entities restrict powers of limitation relative to the status quo to restrict these step bounds on decrease modification does not rest restriction modification must restrict compared to the original it means belonging to the government graph and anyone of the singular it's not they're carrying the U.S. in the singular nuclear force means the delivery war has themselves and the war has themselves no larson 12 nuclear force encompasses means the delivery war has themselves a combination that provides military capability but negative for fairness and clash about topics tonight the role for negation debate is namely competitive which creates in the center for teams reaching from controversy force and negative first characterize the after debate which evacuates the benefits of detailed government clash and impact in this intrinsic debate as opposed to discussion comes from negation topical states produces iterative strategies that are empirical debates pedagogical to value independently it turns the case while opponents create sparring partners failure to produce false positives you vote negative on presumption next off the United States should adopt a no first use policy threats or first cause nuclear war only and if you give us calculations heading 52 trying to use movement in other issue pertaining to usually nukes for powers to save our allies to destroy using conventional force and never use it upon the appropriate use of nukes for retaliation making up upon instrument opportunities can be used to strengthen unused force to turn on the enemy can be used in raising and defeating opposite states to disadvantage laws conservation and security liberates nations from large arsenals for capabilities to increase average use of musical preemption and if you offer stability and never use of calculation or assassination how you ever cannot dismiss block of war non-topical permission to forfeit purpose against topical opposites versus clash guaranteeing the negative stable options keep the ground in direct competition with and refutation of the one I see also shifts when I see construction and maximize the stream of resolution ensuring large testable positions second is dogmatism allowing non-topical lapse monopolized competition standards creates reverse incentive the race and truism and complete mix next off the one I see values stand out to no responding to with judgment the values the hollow validation the second of political energy and draws men into the oppressive gaze of the academy but negative to define affirmation Phillips 99 conservative centers around the role of creative positioning communities as objects of investigation criticism identity change and discourse becomes instrumental suggesting that all communities are needed back and contradicts the disruptive nature of one failed to offer an adequate argument taking public speaking out of streets and studying the classroom which reading and less of greatest object of analysis from the academy without addressing whether the clear should be examined in the first place we are believing that members are ready to be brought into the arena of surveillance and representation will preserve legitimacy nonetheless the effect of destruction of the strength and energy and academic crafts being made as recognition take place material opportunities will legitimacy and create and changing conditions particularly focusing on hidden text and rendering comprehensible turning covert for discourses and objects analysis for rejecting the gaze of dominant power relations in the academy next off voting affirmative adopts the theoretical starting point of particularity which precludes the formation of collective political subjectivities to confront the planetary tsunamis versus capitalism colonialism voting negative because universality should be the starting point of our theory and politics Saldana 15 there's a tendency to see through the schemes of difference to celebrate positionality compared and analysis enunciation they think the left is right for the right to the claims which is really good legacy is a critique on universality finding a near contestable planetary catastrophes for her a revolutionary policy for the soul rebuild universalism the critique questions how we found politics not enough to avoid crisis financial collapse climate change refugee systems all which have fundamental racial dimensions ideologies which change without despair because of our universality comes from other premises universal centuries anti-humanism way of universality we can formulating politics capable of severing structural environmental racism will leave one political incentive for achieving justice with climate change migration bottlenecks and by banks confirmed universalism cruciating into universality preventing the political subjects to be capable of something on racializing on top of capital responsibility if there is a great new conceptual platforms for universalizing politics planetary tsunamis of capitalist disaster next off the United States should ban urbanization establish a universal housing scheme increase the minimum wage to $20 an hour provide substantial unconditional debt-free subsidies to support housing and anti-gentrification measures solves the entire case the one I see is a criticism of how geographic zones have been created in response to the bomb the counterfund bans suburbs it's what Baghdad is about that's when I see evidence we read blue race and class could determine the life not only before the bomb but after officially intent on predicting the way to urban family the way to urban families for instruction on how to build their own private children's visitor centers particularly where people cover instruction to somehow feed the routine city centers and clear how effective it would be preserving life compulsive fusion from the intersection of post-apocalyptic narratives and nuclear weapons complex conditions of slavery offers tactics to absorbing and reconfiguring it second and third links all there and describes high unemployment for housing as bombs that are dropping communities every day that kind of rectifies it by increasing minimum wage and increasing universal housing I want to see early reread blue again negative infrastructures like high unemployment have public housing which drops bombs in communities every day but the negative indirectly fund website promise to protect the whites of the way to America does they template with the preferred only nation cities because of the allegation of black city services that function somewhere between strategic and imaginative new imaginary impactful solution to racial crisis which challenge American strategic but overall exemplary next off is the deterrence the understanding nuclear conflict as a quote fantasy disrupts neo-realist nuclear policy which grows the constant exposure to risk causes global nuclear civil war lumber and team Desire to survive conduct, all states constantly exposed to risk, the uncertainty makes it impossible states his friend will stay a friend returning to any free for allow survival boots value, life turns accountable formula ethics cannot be static dependent on openness to the future, hospitality cannot be pure conformity static ideal society, the uncertainty of the future with physical and neoliberalism, it does not seem to close down by informing states that they should act there, how they ought to become friends with their enemies, every friendship is only possible only if open deception and evidence, self-evident the friendship over enemy is better, a system that right his balance would be most of the world cost possibility for me safe to always be read the limits manipulation moderate demand and service incentive for settlement of disputes any attempt to challenge your so much attempt to by replacing structure was viral, there can be no guarantee the new attempt challenge will be in a more balanced fashion. Discourse from will not merge the absence of common goal makes sensible negotiation possible. Universal ethical ideal races wherever and ever, or retaining the system is problematic to consider deterrence. States to be actively deterring nuclear thermally forward its constant possibility, which creates the possibility of nuclear war constitutes the conditions of peace. Now, the case page vote negative on presumption there are no solve atomic civil defense force enemies. This fails to undermine material analysis to make claims radicalness. Read 22. Contemporary black political theory revealing disorder, tensions, obscure material conditions, and complexities. Black manifest in static, ontological, and autonomy rather Hartman's analysis, making it difficult to conceive collectivity figure easily slides and ontologically predetermines the meaning of blackness, and undermines material analysis by influence radicalness. The theories abstract blackness from more general histories of racial capitalism, and earlier work reframes the historical struggles conceptual and ontological, abstracting the struggles from specific contexts for grounding. When it lodges that blackness and root makes blackness merely reactive figuring blackness a matter of discursive position for the solutions, or within philosophy makes it effective objection ambiguous, but hard and serious commentary, the mundane, but attempts to recalibration and analysis differences leads the impression that black aesthetics developing agreement and discrete movements to a period of time. The point black text become iterations underlying blackness. This allows a notion of tradition that unites the performances leads as an impasse, making blackness proxy for this philosophical problems from within the theoretical frames able to see how blackness can be anything other than opposition in discourse. Universalizing discourse is necessary for scaling up their method. Davis 2-3. Universalizing asks to see someone as worthy of her treatment can be a standard condemnment. Called revolution that describes that person rather than describe her vulnerability and duties were always owed to inspire others based on similar historical understanding. The concepts remain sufficient for both explaining non-universal substructures violating and intervening after to make those more universal conceptual sufficiency points to a theory in no direction. Abor is the word includes clarifying its implication using express consciousness and explaining how partial is always false safety present or for school profit violates justice what comes to give whatever ruins that was what states to be how we will connect for users across borders, but structures we always take care of one another. We cannot affirmative satisfaction of lasting more risky connections in a way that makes the colonized land no universal healthcare and education widely desired and feasible. Conservative politicians have challenged Chinese health in which the force of organized revolutionary programs appropriate concepts of radical actions necessitated and without shared vocabulary that does not change. We need useful concepts in competition with elites to discussing the global effects of nuclear conflict is valuable. Portal 17. Possibility of the Earth's covered nuclear desolation tests vulnerability of humans if functions by shared parallel events, opportunity to build new alliances, kind of thinking that makes the global representative global war meaning notice come from the failure, whereas the necessity of thinking how humanity results in common bound political national difference past war is an attack on countries but on all people human species in the imperial culture straight out of the Navy ministry the nuclear bomb torch although probably represent iterating against challenge nationalism promises contemporary favor which the human was understood. Their Black History Month argument don't change your values in debates during Black History Month. One word to prove it's good to force one means just by their advocacy to be core objections like topicality. That term advocacy makes one easily supportable since it mimics real opposition artificially lowering the bar chance leaders to pick up easy wins and sacrifice the origins detailed clash necessary macro will change. Second, it begs the question for Black History Month to affect topicality. They need to first when the topicality is racialized and targets black leaders through a monolithic conception of black debate. No link topicality is substantive example of critical debate. You should trade it like the one you see stated absent politics for organization. EA voting on this is a valid that trades off a substantive change unless you off the by feeling radical in the moment, but does nothing besides making a W appearance happen. Five, the breaks down coalition Black History Month regenerative, not oppositional, elevating and adversarial settings which marginalized debaters against each other and turns Black History Month into a lost rather. Debaters of color 6 tying into a valid bad artificially elevates the stakes in competition, creates a false roast meaning a negative element for Black History, but negative celebrate Black History Month and endorse model debate with topical action scenario. Afro-futurist pedagogy can and should be applied to policy scenario planning pillow 17. Afro-futurism affirms that apocalypse has occurred to the worldwide conduit of black slavery. Blackness is theorized when origin begins only with colonization, slavery, king, and always negative ontological placement. Blackness cannot exist fully human without images. Tomorrow's trap, there is no way to control. We only have clear about images, many alternatives good, and that we will have control the way we get there. Analytics of reimagining just temporal objects akin to black subjects, description about black and clear and embodied people as skillful subjects is key. The capacity to live really and theorize is made possible when the colonial binary defeat resistance to refuse Afro-futurism affirms blackness ontological is a capacity to occur differently facing the absence of data. Afro-futurism shifts the locus of analysis. This led to data revisioning, including how futures are imagined, the rules of policy, and futures thinking Afro-futurism refocus on what we thought of as data, keep applications of Afro-futurism and play identification policy pathways more Afro-futurism influence data. The further policy was building, push thinking, data shift to conversation, and thinking debates Afro-futurism reduce fields around our need to face existential material conditions becoming crucial in analytics to imagine the resting policy outside the existing deficit structure, build self-imposing temporalities, key question responsibility, policy theorizing moment process of work, unique features that questions appear small but seismic and potential impact promise not per se but rather what counts as data theoretical analysis of recognized colonial education, death and challenge and manageability of the alternative features is necessary. I have 19 seconds. Anything else? Alright, that's fine.
Very good.
Yeah.
Actually, I need to send something out really quick. Okay. Sent a re-highlighting. We should check that out. Y'all good?
Sure.
Let's start on this re-highlighting. The 1 and C Davis evidence. I definitely cut wrong because it says Du Bois invokes the concept of humanity not simply as a universal, and then later the card it says that notion of humanity, quote, not universal humanity, could inspire others based on historical examples, and then cites Ida B. Wells, who the one he has cited. Why is this like a link to the app, and why is it not proof that the app's a good idea?
Well, we think the universalizing discourse of Ida B. Wells necessarily.
When did Ida B. Wells universally?
Well, I'm about to explain.
Okay.
So our argument is that parts of Ida B. Wells' scholarship could be read as justifying a universalist scholarship.
Where?
Like our author explains it. The part that we
Where did it
highlighted.
say that? That's not what it said. It said the notion of humanity, not
But
universe.
also, like, I think
Like,
you're
we understand
missing-
there's a difference
like,
between universe,
I also
humanity,
think
humanity,
you're missing
right?
the broader point, which is that earlier parts of the article obviously discuss other examples of what
No,
universals
the
is.
part of the article says Du Bois's notion of humanity, not insofar as universal humanity, which is re-highlighted.
No,
Then it says the notion
This is
of
actually not
humanity.
true at all. You've
What?
highlighted like 3 lines that
No,
basically
I
is
highlighted
not
the
even
line that
close
you
to
broke
the entire
apart.
article. No, that's not true at all.
Okay,
It's
that's
like-
definitely
Yeah,
cap.
yeah,
Exactly.
later on,
I
yeah,
highlighted.
But also, maybe this
Okay,
is
no,
actually-
I'm gonna move on.
There's
'Cause
three highlights
no,
of
it's
the
fine.
article
I'm
that
gonna
you
move.
actually
I'm gonna
did.
move on because I highlighted the full sentence. You cut it off.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
We-
Status of the off. Status of the off.
Conditional.
Okay, why is that good?
So we can test the 1AC strategy.
I guess. The read evidence. Where does it say enemesis? It talks about Sadiya Hartman, not any author of the Afro. Why is it not the homogenization of black scholarship?
You may be wrong that, or you may be correct that it doesn't say enemesis, but we don't think that that is homogenizing black scholarship. We still think that the arguments that it makes applies to
Where?
your solvency argument. Because we think that kind of the
Wait,
way.
which part are you talking
The read evidence.
The one that you're on.
It says like enemesis in the tag, but it's power tag, because obviously the card didn't say that. So like, where is this like a link to the app?
Well,
No, the whole point is that even if it's not like AT exact app phrase, we can obviously criticize, like your app obviously overlaps with other scholarship in terms of the arguments you're making. So critiques to that can
Okay,
also
so what's
apply.
the
You can make
argument
no
that
link
you made?
arguments, but then it's not homogenized.
What? No, like that's not the same. Okay, where in this piece of evidence does it like make an argument about the app?
Well, our argument is that treating blackness as a praxis and the beginning point of analyzing violence is inaccurate.
So why is it not like? Can people under your model do that?
What do you mean?
Like, can
People
people under
under
your
our
model
model.
start from like
I don't know what
conception
you
of
mean by
blackness
model.
framework?
Like, yes, like this.
So
is
then
the
why is
best
this not like a
framework.
double
This is
turn
just the
with
reason
that?
why the
Like,
case is wrong.
So
Us
under
saying
our
case
model,
law
wait,
is
okay,
wrong.
clarification question. So under our model, we can't start for blackness because that's bad.
No, no,
it's
no,
not,
this
it's
is
not,
not about
it's not a model
framework.
question. It's a case solvency argument.
Yeah, it's a case solvency argument.
Okay, why does the advanced counterplan solve the app?
We re-highlighted your cards to say that these are the reforms that need to occur to redress the specific things your authors say are bad.
I guess. I think you should probably say that. Oh, I did, yeah.
No, okay, I got you.
Yeah, like that's cap.
9:32. Let me set up the top. The order is case, did they call it the
Wait, did you send me the full name?
No, I'll send it to you. Did they call it the deterrence?
They did call it.
Yeah, okay. Case, the deterrence this the advantage counterclaim, the NFU counterclaim, the valid case, what do they call it? The universality case, and then framework. Give me a second here, so let me send it to you.
The bomb of anti-blackness is a nuclear force that radiates across civil society, from slavery, mass incarcerated, residential segregation. Black communities are marked as disposable through the logic of simple defense in order to make nuclear weapons simultaneously absorb its toxic effects for the benefit of a dominant white society. That's really, this is an ongoing apocalypse that is raised through the pedagogical whitewashing of nuclear wars and incoming command and separation of structural violence from the nuclear complex. So when you see performance of atomic affirmation for disarming the simple defense logic, it is a process of enemies in which we connect the future of nuclear violence to the past slavery in order to eventual worlds of black and brown liberation where the need for nuclear weapons and violent nation really do not exist. It's background presumption. 1. No link to the evidence of response to black authors we didn't read. Reject the team for homogenization and produces erasure which magnifies the link to the BHM procedure. 2nd, bearing witnesses. Good. That was above universalizing discourse. 1. This is an F part. It is about connecting struggles to see how we are all implicated in racial capitalism, which is what the app does. But traditional discourse is bad because it assumes a wide imaginary is about IWOs, which is an author via study, which means this is a link term via the affirmative BA Black History Month. Drop that if the 1 and T does not honor black voices by presenting a black literary method, then they have not been the burden of rejoinder in this particular moment. Prefer now interpretation because they have known 1 urgency. Texas engages in academic bookmans and believes brutality, which means black people are being erased epistemically and physically. Our role of the ballot is necessary to use this paper for resistance strategies. Debate is necessary because the community erases black voices, which will be on Framework. 2nd, black anti-nuclear activists are nowhere seen in the topic nor in traditional models of debate. People like Ernest Wilkins, Edwin R. Russell, Monty Taylor, Gardner, Fermi, Reed, Quarterman, Knox, Delaney, etc. left to the wayside, and the one who sees performance decision to not honor any black voices or say their names is an independent reason to reject the team because they have replicated erasure. The ballot is the only way to change the way we engage here. 3, any fairness argument here on Framework is impact turn job. The Jackson evidence that says you should erase acts of unfairness to celebrate black voices as a form of reparations. Jackson says these distorted facts challenge white supremacy and the racialized development of Framework burden to prove argument. Traditional debate is anti-black. You should understand how it is weaponized now. The legacies of the PRL, people harassing black debaters online, the fact that y'all will innovate new dissents all the time against policies but never care about engaging our side of the library, etc. Yes, link, it is not. T is not an example of critical debate. It is a form of lazy argumentation which would be on Framework. Tokenization, dissent is wrong. Our interpretation for debate creates the conditions for making a space for debate. A becomes black resistance strategy A versus black resistance strategy B, which creates revolutionary over time that enhances and turns coalitions. You thinking it is oppositional is a racist belief that the Jackson evidence says is a racist reactionary argument that plays into racial anxieties about, oh, you say BHM, what about me? It is a racist argument and a reason to reject the team. Tying it to the ballot is good because it is a necessary prerequisite to start the process of reparation and breaking down racist subjectivities. The alternative is worse because it creates a space of erasure that doesn't require acknowledgement. Any argument that says community action outside rounds solves this wrong because our offense is about how black scholarship is not honored and debated out in the round. It is the primary space we engage with people because when we go out of it, we go to our friends, not with each other. The extinction rhetoric argument, extinction rhetoric is bad. It is a universal science discourse that centers white life or black life because it is colorblind rhetoric that ignores that white people will survive the apologies due to residential segregation, but black people will be forced to defend themselves as back. Now, back in your role in this debate to be a white anti-racist educator, that means that you should uplift black voices. If Framework does not provide a specific model that allows for black liberation, then you should not allow for it. Kelly's fluency will just be there were black people under our model that have advocate for T, but that is not our interpretation. It is about black methods, not the reading of Framework. Afrofuturism policy, we've isolated movements in Austin that fight for rent control and universal housing that proves no, we meet argument on Framework. Deterrent is this at 1, no link. The evidence is the criticism of a world government system which we have not defend. And then 2nd, no internal link between class and civil war. There's no impact needness. 3, reject incomplete dissent shall excuse the 1 year reject them for Louis Strauss uneducational. 4, link to an Afrofuturism is pan-African which creates global solidarity and nationalism. That's 20 back now. J. Del Sol 4, case outweighs civil defenses and apology like the force justifies gratuitous violence of blind disorder to secure white future generations of life lost in the Atlantic destabilizing conditions of reciprocal racism outweigh on a metaphysical level. Next, any offense here means we impact turn our model debate, civil defense is a logic and permeates an educational basis and militaries the mind to save yourself before first we were black people person away means they justify the debateability. Drop that nuclear deterrence requires Irish racism in the status quo. Nuclear corporations like Northrop Grumman and Lockheed Martin use black prison labor and hospital facilities are placed near black communities, which means our status quo impacts outweigh the dissent because they have to justify the status quo. Advantage counterplan 1, perm do both. 2nd, perm do the affirmative. 3, no net benefit. 5, we some people dissent don't center the USMG which is core optimism. 6, is also the affirmative does not challenge civil defense logic in the spaces, does not challenge the nuclear weapons. Universal housing will be met. Will still be in the realm of residential segregation and fails due to NIMBY policy minimum wage shows because it doesn't resolve the issue that the black people being robbed of wealth, not income. 7, making your commitments to the liberation of people of color principles of voting issue that was black is your own procedure above. NFU counterplan 1, perm, we some people should NFU through disarming civil defense logic. NFU is counterinsurgency actions to do a reverse advance, disarming self and definitely cross the military new governments community. You put every number of issues have disarming not for missing really new governments counter sharp impacts of nuclear weapons in the nation. Links to the net benefit because it's terrorist is about status quo deterrent and while NFU you status quo deterrent doesn't solve the affirmative because it keeps civil defense. We get perms advocacy are not mutually included on the level of philosophy. It's key for education. Valid pick 1, impact turn debating abolition Afrofuturism is good for testing political strategies that will be on Framework. 2nd, no link turn or 2nd, no impacts to the oppressing gaze. It is non-unique and only can solve by challenging traditional debate practices. Next, perm vote out to decline Michigan's negation. They have outed themselves as the role of the critic. Reading Framework is a double turn and a reason to vote them down. It allows impartial spectators like the USMG to make decisions about the wrong about Afrofuturism. It makes being Afro-policy creates worse people over time by not being held down to one mode of politics. The universalizing K1 colorblindness turn none of the parties of black people, which means it doesn't solve the affirmative. Second, universalizing discourse is anti-black. That was case and the dissent. Next term to the aft. Next term to both. Next, no link. We are not anti-humanism. We are Afro. Futures that ensure black survival. Next, making your ethical commitments the liberation condition is a voting issue. Cross from above. Framework 1. On counter definition. Subpoint A. Impact certain United States Act under text. We some people challenge white exclusion. James. 17th version. Question not contribute every day to my needs and view. Some people supposed to lead the view as well as white normative. Agenda weeks of the promote. Subpoint B. Disarm means to abolish American heritage. No date to abolish forces. Next, there definitions are over limiting, erasing the debates and the literature over particular weapons and cards substance by letting the negative get away with generic deterrence. This has against disarm as concern. All the term impacts the clash. Next, nuclear forces include infrastructure and communication. Cornell law. No day nuclear forces include nuclear weapons, very process, nuclear command and control, communication, infrastructure facility, including personal infrastructure operation and maintenance. Next, forces can include discourse. Richie 23 discourse define nuclear weapons or cultural directing for forces for economic culture which produce them. Next, we meet that interpretation on two levels. One, civil defense and nuclear communication. That's Preston Way. Second is that infrastructure includes civil defense. Early 20 applicable force nuclear 17. And the like extended arc include operators at the MIC within communities most vulnerable to infrastructure violence, models critique civil defense to go and also waste as a weapon. Next, we meet that because we some people disarm nuclear forces civil defense, which means we abolish civil defense discourse that racialize the use of nuclear weapons and imagine a war where we refuse the infrastructure of this investment of black futures. Second, extend the counter-interpretation affirmative should engage the resolution through radicality point, which means affirming the restriction of U.S. nuclear forces through a critical perspective. This includes abolition of international Afrofuturism, post-colonial role, and excludes outside dome or restrict nuclear forces prefer. One, limits teams that don't defend reduction of nuclear can still lose T and it confines has to be tied down to the core topic, which allows for negative generics prefer. Reasonably, no way to quantify and good is good enough. Next, negative ground is better. You can still read case terms like deterrence. This as long as you win a link and justify the theory as it promotes black liberation, counter performances, and their generic critiques are better like futurism versus pessimism, dual power versus anarchism, land back versus grounded relationality because they promote liberation strategies over top-down approaches that read and transparent relations, extend the net benefits, subpoint A, epistemological growth teams uncover variety histories under the nuclear code line and learn to carve out counterpolitics and debates to make the space safer for marginalized communities that allows for debates to become a training ground for future activists such as Taos and CL, creating lose for a beautiful struggle, Fullerton, MM, starting up immigration law firms, etc., and performance building out. That's 20 C. So, 23, which leads to a transformation in subject formation. Fairness arguments. One, colorblindness is this have procedural fairness and limit standards are standards that always break debates in favor of white upper class of the white upper class because our definition for what is fair can only be created by those who had access to define it in the first place. Second, civil defense. This had the fear that chaos ruin the activities of future with the fear of styles of debate coded as black Afrofuturism demands that you recognize the linkages between conservative right-wing backlash of PRL and the use of framework as infrastructure violent racist deterrents that demonize the ability for historically working class minorities to envision new futures. No debate for themselves. When you see Hurley, President Michis argue that when this nuclear pedagogy is taught in the classroom, it gets exported to create racially exclusive spaces in times of crisis and produces academic discussions that always seek to reformulate nuclear posture at the expense and to black life. Kelly is going to say that our framework emerged as a response to white promo teams, but that analysis of the origins of framework erases the fact that along with that there was also the weaponization of framework against teams like Louisville, Towson, Emporia, etc., which were all weaponized even more or against them than they were for Hayes, because for Hayes could be seen as state-aiding framework, whereas Louisville and Towson were always criminalized as always outside of the topic. Next, refer liberatory fairness to counter-interpretation expands the circle. Fairness to allow for a diversity of arguments that less marginalized debaters explore different fields to explore knowledge into anti-racist action, prefer reasonability on fairness that are on the side of inclusion because over limiting the topic is racial exclusion. Their forms of clash are bad. One, hegemonic anti-nuclearism. This had the division of ground results in this had counterplan debates that has to happen on the same hegemonic terrain of preserving the U.S. at the top, i.e. NFU versus deterrence, sole purpose counterplans still promote the U.S. order people of color and the oversaturation of top-down articles cause the game to be rigged in favor of traditional arguments that make winning the critique of an uphill battle, or it causes a tokenization of black scholars where you read one in Tandi's 20 evidence in the 1AC to act as a perm part to the critique, but never actually censor black argumentation in the context of nuclear weapons. Second, universal humanity. This had debates under the model of some universalizing impact of extinction, which ignores how the effects of nuclear war disproportionately impact people of color. Any argument like Abs can talk about other impacts that disproportionately affect minority people don't matter because it is a form of interest convergence where policy teams only read those types of soft left abs in front of other K teams to try and subsume their impacts, which links to the atomic genocide that was also read on in the previous one.
All right. Good. The first question that I have is about this Cornell law piece of evidence. So it says it includes, at a minimum, nuclear weapons, the delivery platforms and systems, and then other things. How do you think you meet this?
Well, because it's defining what nuclear forces at minimum include, but that does not mean that apps should not be able to specify which nuclear forces they restrict. So
okay,
you would have to read the definition. Yeah.
Infrastructure and facilities. What infrastructure and facilities is related to nuclear weapons that the app is then allowed to restrict?
Civil defense is a form of infrastructural violence, i.e. the disinvestment of black futures to cost things.
I'm not asking whether or not the 1AC is an example of infrastructure. I'm asking what are the examples of infrastructure broadly.
Well, we read a general description of what nuclear forces includes, right? I'm not really, like, nuclear infrastructures can include other things, but we've specified civil defense as one of those forms of infrastructure.
I think the Hurley evidence is pretty clear on the ways in which we should, like, not in a unreasonable way, but more so open ourselves up to view different things as nuclear like forces. So for example, the Hurley evidence gives like two examples. One is civil defense, and secondly, James Baldwin's criticism, right? Those are infrastructure forces that encapsulate the way we think about the resolution, which
I have
are
some
key to
clarification
analyze.
questions, just
Yeah.
for flow check reasons. The universality critique, there was a voter on the bottom. What was it?
It was the making your ethical commitments to liberation condition was a voting issue.
So the same one that was on the advantage count one?
Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. And then the double turn on the academy critique, what was the
Yeah,
word?
Philip says that we should not allow impartial spectators to surveil the 1AC. We think you've done that by rigging framework.
Why are we an impartial spectator?
Because you're only here to try and say that we don't belong in this space. That's an impartial spectator as opposed to a model in which engages Black liberation strategies with a counter Black liberation strategy.
Right.
We don't think T is like a substantive form of engagement.
Sure.
And then
What's the threshold for a Black liberation strategy?
It's couched in the Black radical tradition. I believe, like, if you read Cedric Robinson's Black Marxism book, it details the origins of it. But it's like, it's methods that prioritize Black liberation. Bright lines for it, like, I wouldn't say that there's like one homogenizing like way to describe it.
Well, I'm more asking
but it looks
for
like, for
the
example,
argument
like-
that you made on the case. How do you determine, or how does Becca determine whether or not the negative has performed a Black liberation strategy?
Yeah, like there's a difference between saying like we honor X person and then defending a strategy that is couched in Black history. So for example, it's like Black Marxism by Cedric Robinson is one. There's Afro-pessimism by Wilderson. There's Black Maoism.
That doesn't
by
answer the
Tyler
question.
Campbell.
How is it determined? That you're
Because
giving
it's
some
not just
examples.
representation, it's the application of a political strategy that achieves Black liberation.
Yeah, like I feel like this is overblown. Like,
Yeah.
Becky should vote for the team
And it's
that
like-
has the best strategy.
I don't even think this matters in this space because like you haven't honored Black voices, which
Yeah.
means you haven't even done the representation part.
Yeah.
Like
That's like
you haven't even
same
done that.
same for policy teams. It's just like the judge votes who they thought won. Like, you know what?
Okay,
So.
before we start,
You're going to the rest.
yeah,
It's gonna look like I'm typing, but I'm checking soccer scores.
Fuck that.
It's nice that the two majors were in places where like the weather is good.
Yeah. After Dartmouth, man.
Dartmouth was terrible.
So happy to not see a speck of snow outside.
Yeah.
The snow was recently just like,
The walk to the dinner was awful.
it was.
It doesn't snow often. It doesn't snow at all in Austin.
It was, oh my god, so bad. Like, I remember after we got done eating, like that when we walked outside with like half a shirt on, I was like,
Oh, shot.
it's like 7 degrees out here. It's crazy.
It's like they're just built different out there. I get it.
Yeah. No cell service too.
That's what I'm saying.
Unbelievable.
I don't know how John does it. What is this cryptic ass tweet that Holland just posted?
Wait.
So you know, you can see it if you want. It's like, what is this cryptic ass?
Tonight?
Yeah, you, like it's a scene from like the Hunger Games. I'm like, what does that mean? It's like somebody died in this scene. It's like, what is this? I gotta ask, what is this?
Wait,
mean?
did they lose round 5?
I don't know. What does this mean? I'm scared.
Oh, wait, never mind. I'm deleting this. It can't be my first tweet. I haven't tweeted yet. It has to be something special. I don't know. I'm gonna check if they did tweet.
My first tweet was like retweets from 2017 trying to win like shoe giveaways.
I'm so dead. No, they won round.
Should we wait?
Yeah. He would say no because he's like, he's trying to be too humble. But we'll wait for him. Yeah. Like I've never met somebody who takes prep to like grab cards and put them in
No,
the
that's
box.
very ethical.
That's what I'm saying. I'm just like, bro.
Yeah, for us it's like, yeah, unspoken.
Yeah, I'm just like, yeah, I'm done. I'm gonna put the cards in now, like now.
Right, it's like, let me just delete the animal.
I hate it.
Macro does it for me.
No, me too, the macros are really good.
I'm still like trying to like get better at shortcuts on verbatim.
Do you all know about this? There's a macro that lets you delete analytics in one go.
Is there?
It's one button.
I have no idea how to set it up on a Mac.
No, I set it up on this.
Oh, you did?
It's really good.
Yeah, y'all gotta hook us up after the round.
Yeah, you can talk to Gabe, he knows. He like programmed it.
Hurry up, I'm about to start going on TikTok. That's how you know it's bad.
Dude, have you seen the Austin Broom stuff?
I've never like watched them, but like I know of them.
No, it's not even like, you don't even need to know of them.
Yeah, I've seen the
You've
videos
seen
though. Yeah,
him
like the
acting
RV videos. Yeah,
What is
instant.
this?
Like, I don't know, it's like, do you know Austin Broom? Well, okay, I barely knew him before, but he like divorced his wife, and now he's like making all these TikToks about how he's like living in a van. And he,
Good.
oh, wait, yeah, we'll take prep.
Alright, I'll set that.
Where's the document?
What was the like oppositional is a racist belief reject the team on the case page?
It was on the history and procedure, right?
Yeah.
It's the stuff about how it's like, you said that us reading Black history within this space creates some sort of opposition. That's a racist reaction that the Jackson evidence assumes, because when people think Black History Month is oppositional, it reveals a racist anxiety that we should instead learn to attack, not like just ignore.
Yeah. We have 8:24. And can you write?
Yeah.
Okay, there are 2 cards, and I will send out 2 cards. Do you all care if I put it in the body?
Preferably in the doc, but like if it takes too much time, then you can spend.
Okay,
Just cause like I have it like one.
okay, hold up, I can put it in a talk.
Thank you.
Okay, I titled it 2AC round 6, but yeah. I sent another version. Can I just... Okay, the order's just T. Okay, is anyone not here? Good. Okay.
Speaking against the negative response, all proposals let us present good ideas only be forced to success, and there's no past one fairness, competition to unify factor that drives research and permanence, trying to anti-model and place the affirmative force, the core driver for pedagogical benefits by turning debate into a coin toss for the side. Your own matters more than the effort you put in and precedes the concept of every FTA because our offense requires for evaluation before you consider the concept given your FT. That's something always for instance tautological since you would have to weigh the argument fairly to make the adjustments you clash around in. Topic motivates targeted research, forcing both sides to refine the argument to win is a huge external impact because they're testing and considering to kind of overall research screening because it's up to leading opponents to test at the highest level of straight turns and solves your offense to actualize it. After futures in a racist world, of course, crafting solutions and scrutinizing the environment's model. Creating more special so we explain the benefits of after futures, imagining the face of following opposition and evacuating the benefit of sparring partners to test strategy, especially since their evidence is of violence is material and global, only rebuttals to speed as a space of first activists for adversarial criticism. The solutions to ideas from her 1 and 2 cross-execution damage for black solution that person our model needs to bring in black history months to this clash. And fairness is good for black liberation. Now we, some people, want to expose them to ground, some people encompasses basically every group in the population up to the US, including the 50 states, a single individual at a nuclear facility, the CEO of Lockheed Martin, or a single congressman which creates thousands of possibilities, but 2 rebuttals solves. Think of it like a permutation vote. For our interpretation merely says the US should be the federal government for the purpose of predictable debate, but then we can also acknowledge that the government invests in quote white formulas agenda. Now these are disarm is abolished. We agree. The object, however, of what they were disarming was nuclear forces, which includes nuclear weapons. Disarming war, secession of our social organized organization, which elimination, forceful nuclear weapons. The over-limiting argument that's wrong. Every other area solves, and the NFU and ICBM substance. It also solves their offense because it ensures that access to end nuclear instead of just performing a nuclear forces is wrong. It must encompass what a warhead to deliver vehicles or cargoes. Negative says the AF must be at minimum the entire list, including delivery systems of weapons themselves, and they don't meet their own counterintuitive card. It's clearly about nuclear C3 networks, not about civil defense in schools, which answers there we made argument below. The forces discourse argument is wrong. It links to all of our offensive restricting discourse. It's topical to ensure to absolute full deviation from the status quo, like criticizing individual words, like Lester tried instead of defending a reduction in the nukes themselves. Now, the infrastructure and civil defense argument is wrong. This process and nukes are violent to those who are vulnerable to infrastructural violence, not that civil defense is infrastructure. Now, the counterintuitive one, it's arbitrary. Their information requires you to look at the resolution and ignore the explicit reference to US should. No first use of the triad, even if the theoretical solves. It's totally unreasonable. And the had which means that it can change roughly around 2 explosive limits. It's not defined an agent for radicalism. They said that it was international. Asking use from any country, thousands of organizations that say 7 billion people, it justifies California going, or a single individual figuring strategy for themselves, or one person choosing not to launch a nuclear weapon. There's no bright line on what radicality is. It justifies infinite mechanisms, so as long as they vaguely criticizes nukes, thousands of people into designing and using them to overcome their fear of death by embracing the violence, instilling global peace with the goal of restricting use menacing about the nuclear triad and grassroots movements now touching a single nuclear facility in Pakistan, India, or China, not just the US that costs an average to the marginal supply. The tallest, least controversial argument 3 destroys ground. Every night argument was constructed with a change in nuclear policy in mind, including deterrence politics and technique. The model forces the to impact trends and generics which lack nuance. They say it solves the mechanism is as important as the endpoint, even if perhaps have to discuss nuclearism. It can happen at any level, like individuals, schools, classrooms, or families, or even one state or official. The government critiquing nuclearism that alone is enough to void ground. Imagine Plan Bennett and I should attach our attachment to nukes. How do you go for deterrence against that? Imagine Plan, head commander of the B-61 deployed in Turkey, should take his hands off the nuclear weapon that literally affects only one person and one system reasonably. The strong for fair community models is arbitrary. We don't know what is an is a reasonable hostage judgment eventually the combination of all reasonable interests is unreasonable. The model feels it's independently unreasonable because they present unfair burden for the nag. They don't get a deterrence CA. They said no leg on the DA, and the outside listener above we get smoked with a deterrence CA. Every time that the KVK debates is wrong, one of our models you can read case against topical outside incorporating critical scholarship. That is one method debate is, so we solve their unique offense, but to it doesn't assume their interpretation K debates and the score not CSU's counter model. Even if you could read dual power against huge nuclear and some absent effects, every nuclear system you cannot read it against a small one that affects only one individual of engaging in Buddhist contemplation independently. Critical answers are resistable now because it seems so. Then they can go for shape for them to have some relation to the resolution. The model opens the floodgates completely because it's for advocacy free. It does not assume competition. Strength of the resolution incentivizes the abs issues. Uncontroversial results at no link every DA, even if there's some ground in theories, more two ways will work their app to no link everything for. It's a partial solution at best method debates and now it's not by a supergroup. It's overpowered the African individual survival strategies to avoid every link independently. become untenable when the outbreaks new. So you must say our negative now. Epistemological growth is wrong. We're going to straight turn it. The worst. We're in front of epistemology. One access and class the model only filters epistemology from one side. The neg will be left floundering. Play couch system engaging in discussion and developing. Scholarship do testing. There's something revolutionary about proposing a good idea that is not being subject to scrutiny. So if we win, class the answer is 3. Focus. The model opens up locates too many issues. Epistemological focus is impossible. We're debating entirely different side of the library every single round. Now subjectivity is wrong. Any effect is minimal or non-linear. School worth the next 50 years. Are we out of time? In class is time with the friends and family reading what we do outside of school is equally likely to influence our argument to be structurally capacitated because of competitive incentives. We read arguments we may not because we believe them provide what we could enhance good. Lastly, switch to be so we don't enforce argument attachment. We negate deterrence when we're a neighbor reading a K researcher which solves now colorblind and the blindness gain no link or impact is procedural fairness to distinct from only the big fairness to white elite debaters because equal procedural benefits to everyone. We're not saying that only white people get fairness, but that regardless of who you are, you should be given a procedural equally shot at winning on both the aff and the neg. The model create being so worse because it creates an unequal playing field where white debaters can weaponize their unfair position to try to bring the neg out of this debate. The simple defense is wrong. One mystery's history that we see is cherry-picking a specific narrative of the topicality of black. This is John Model. There are different textures and communities of black debate, and plenty of black people disagree with CSU's use of the topic. We're not just criticizing 4 cases, it's about 2. It's about how topicality is evolved, not its origins. 2, no link. Topicality is not a fear of black debate. It is not an argument like any other. It's negotiation, not imposition. We're not banning CSU from the tournament. It's not until to suddenly exclude them because there's no difference between us reading topicality against them or reading team restrict against MSU. In both cases, it's a discussion between 2 teams about what the topic means. Similarly, it does not deny the importance of critical argumentation. Our model will also exclude antitrust personhood and every F that we have read in previous topics. 3, reject their logic. The implication that reading topicality at Texas round 6 erases the history of black debate is absurd. It is tokenizing. The journalistic assumes that K teams would not have succeeded by reading a plan that's historically wrong and marginalizes. Debaters of colors do not fit the traditional blueprint of a K team. 4, ballot out K. You can affirm black debate without voting for CSU is not intrinsically tied to debate. 5, links to fair term. Excludes half the debaters in the room from equitably engaging the space, including black debaters. Independently, the counter model limits out some of the outstanding list. Lower fairness is wrong. Fairness must be procedural before it is liberatory, which is why now hegemony and anti-nuclearism is wrong. 1, nuclear debates are good. The topic has been disarmed. It's not just deterrence and assurance versus NFU. People have read full disarmament since deterrence unsustainable like Kentucky. Georgetown also reads its disarmament to accelerate the world order and class hegemonic systems. Also reject their impulse critiques of deterrence and assurance. It matters for intelligent hegemony. Assurance forces us to consider the interests of our Asian allies, making sure the U.S. does not feed them to the wolves. Deterrence makes us realize that the U.S. is not the only hegemonic power in the world, too. Even if they win their argument, it is good to debate about hegemonic nuclearism, even if we don't believe it, even if people are the abstract is bad debating about it is extremely valuable because knowledge of foreign policy, how the U.S. will use nukes to sustain hegemony, and what tools the U.S. has in its arsenal is invaluable for any activist hoping to challenge the state. 3, our model solves something a topical versus our intent does not create a topic, quote, geared towards putting the U.S. on top. The 1AC said that, quote, universalizing the discourse of nuclear war is an urgent impact to avoid. They can read a disarmer NFU after the risk is nuclear risk, saying that any of the arsenal is a death knell for nuclear deterrence. It forces white America to confront an unstable world order externally. They can read also eliminate a triad layer, disarm nukes to collapse global American hegemony. The 1AC backing off evidence says, quote, whiteness makes allegiances across enemy lines and the U.S. uses nukes against global black and red populations in the global status. That is an external reason to disarm nukes and do an NFU. Lastly, they can read any topical out of the global movement managing that any of the bombing powers want to observe anywhere. That proves no tokenization because they can run their 1AC straight down with no changes as long as they demanded disarm goods. Someone being switched side. The 1AC was a negative argument after a few years of criticizing centrality can be good. Right as the case of traditional deterrence theory, they could read body politics and civilization can or any variation of jazz as accountable to the 1AC. They can affirm Black History Month and neg to interim teams. So procedure for the active spend. Yeah, there is no difference over this. So we see over a season of the right about the resolution being irredeemably bad. The neg will win every round under a model and with the nuclear is came to so far. Stronger rejection of the topic than the topic on a single debate round 4. They link back. The model does not exclude absent restricts nukes through traditional channels alone because the absent disarm one superfluous bomber or one team belief system. Our all topical debates over nuclear policy will still occur regardless. Also, their model and specifically their index of topical teams that they set is a double turn with the fact that they want us to read the deterrence TA against them. That is the ground that they chose to give us. What they would withstood that was irrevocably violent, which means that they were simply locked into a double line. Either we have nothing to say or we inflict violence, which means that all net ground is impossible. 5, no subjectivity shift. Even if we only read absent of investment in hegemonic nuclearism, we will not be wedded to those ideas proven by the impacts that I read above. Lastly, the universal humanity idea, absolutely no link. Topical apps do not record talking about extinction. You can read soft left apps or read abductive advantages that challenge the way we discuss nuclear weapons on the net. You can read kids or team embodiment to force a focus on interpersonal experience instead of nuclear war. But their model cannot solve, and this is important, they do not exclude extinction debating people can still read days against them, and their intent does not exclude nuclear war impacts. This is not interest convergence. It is inevitable under their model too, because they don't exclude darkness or Georgetown breeding small apps or small apps against K teams with interest convergence, reading the same apps that they say are bad. The difference is under our model, CSU is free to read their 1AC without genocidal extinction, which is sufficient to solve their offense while preserving ours.
You get Kelly?
Yeah.
Okay. So far, like, only loss of ground I heard was I can't read the deterrence of the test.
No.
Is there anything else?
No, we said that anything we want to read in the box that is related to the federal government restricting nukes, done. Can't read that.
Okay, such as, like,
So not just assurance, but things like the nuclearism K that compete off of the app, not disarming all nukes that link to the other areas. We would also lose things like the civilization K that we read against other teams that invest in hegemonic anti-nuclearism.
okay,
We also lose things like assurance,
Like,
the
I
NEC
get that,
counterclaim
I
restriction,
get
etc.
that, but it's like, even then, there are instances under your model where you can't read that against like a disarm soft left that.
I mean,
But
you're
I'm
right.
gonna get to like a different topic. It's like,
You're right, but
like
the
we've
totality of the
listed,
resolution
we've
allows those
listed
things.
other forms of ground, right, such as the dual power stuff,
Right.
the cycle stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
why isn't that
So
sufficient?
you're right that those positions would link to some of the apps in your interpretation,
No,
but
they
they do
don't
not link to
technically,
the
they like
vast
that.
majority of them.
But
Where
what
you
you're
create a
saying-
competitive incentive for them to race to the smallest possible version, that dual power would have no game on whatsoever.
That's
Really,
just
like,
not true.
Lamb,
think
Bennett,
like,
and
feel
I
like-
should engage in Buddhist
Hold on.
contemplation over nukes. What is the link to dual power that the perm would not overcome?
Wait, hold on. The Buddhist contemplation over nukes, I assume you're referencing Texas stuff, right? They
No.
defended this.
No, I'm not referencing Texas. I'm saying this is a topical app under your interpretation. It's a radical mode where Bennett and I decide to sit down and we're like, we're gonna meditate over nukes, but it only applies to two of
but
us.
something,
Dual power does not apply.
look, something to consider is the Smith evidence says that these apps need to be tied down to the core of the topic.
It is
and
core
we've
of the
seen-
topic. You've
No,
said that
Kelly,
civil
stop,
defense.
stop pointing
Yeah,
your
go
finger
on.
at me. Look.
Go on.
The stuff about apps being tied down to the core of the topic. The
Yeah.
literature shows that it would be in the realm of a Buddhist NFU as the way that Texas has done it, or
No,
a Buddhist disarm,
you're simply
or
wrong about
Buddhist
that.
disarm.
The
So
way
it's
that,
like,
no. Think about how you've defined civil defense. You said civil defense is the way we
We said that is-
conceive and
okay.
think about nukes.
Okay, I
That
think
is
you
the core of what that
misunderstood.
app would do.
That is one
And also
instance
the
of
fact
it.
that this is up for debate at all, and that there is a case that it is topical, proves that we can't risk it.
Okay, subjectivity shift stuff, if there's the change in subjectivity is minimal, how do you explain judges that put on their paradigms, I prefer when apps read a plan?
But you don't know whether that was because of debate. It could have been
How-
equally
wait,
because of
wait,
their
wait,
experiences
hold on.
outside. For
Why would,
instance,
hold on, I have a question.
No, I'll give you an example.
Why would my mom or like my best friend be the indicator of why like I
Okay,
don't
I'll
like
actually
it?
give you an example. So for instance, okay, it's not just like you talking to your friends or whatever, but it's about the fact that you are exposed to scholarship outside of debate. So for instance, if your judge works for the DoD, they are more influenced by the fact that they work for the DoD than the fact that they may have read a K once in their career.
Is there a judge?
That's right.
I mean, there are actually judges that have worked for the military. There are judges who have worked for the government or NGOs. That obviously informs the way they think. Judges, in fact, say after I left debate and I joined these movements, I started thinking
You
differently.
think that's the primary reason why they think they have
No. I'm not saying any of these individual causes are primary, but that's the point. There are a bunch of alt causes, and it's not linear, which is our point.
Alright, I'm gonna send some cards. Actually, I'm gonna take a few seconds, bro. Where did I put it? A24.
I think we had 824, so it's
Yeah, sorry.
820.
Alright, 810. That it is now sent. Nothing.
Yeah.
Alright. The order is going to be the advantage counterplan, the NFU counterplan, the Academy K, the deterrence DA, the universality K, the case.
My bad, can you say that one more time?
advantage counterplan, the NFU counterplan, the ballot pick university K, the deterrence DA, the universality K, the case. Can I use your timer? Mine's the beat
Yeah. Does it not work?
right, it works. It sounds awesome.
Okay, yes.
Yeah. All right. Does everyone have the cards and is good?
Yeah.
Cool. Good. Sweet. The advantage counterpoint concedes purposes as a test of competitional answer. Conditional commitments here. One is block 2 exchange, and the 2 which requires multiple options. They encourage sandbagging, which undermines clash and terms. Second, flexibility test is using some predictable advantages. Add-ons and deficits encourages better advocacy. Triggers race to the top and 2 construction 3 arbitrary. There's no objective difference. Separating models and no basis for theory at all. Unpredictable rules worse than no because they consider rules have 1 team which always screws with the negative for innovation. Risk aversion means that teams need to fall back to experiment, drive research, critical education, 5 strategy testing conditionalities necessary to determine the best strategy for black liberation. Otherwise, we are stuck in one position. They must prove that the affirmative is better than alternatives. Next is the NFU counterpoint concedes purposes as competition. I don't think there are any voters on this page. But the reasons to direct the argument on the team if there were and are answered by everything above the Academy K or the Academy K can get no impact to aggressive gaze means firm. Do the aft to decline us fails if we in topicality brackets at the argument. No double turn test whether or not the ballot is test whether or not the ballot is good for them. Well, topicality test whether or not their model is good. We aren't saying you don't belong. We are saying that we don't have to rejoin the affirmative. It's proven on topicality. We're not excluding you. Proven by the topical version of the affirmative. The deterrence DA concede no link. It's the reason to reject the team is not the DA. The reason the DA was a full argument, which means that there's no link to this. But if they win, then it wasn't a full argument. It just means that they get new 1-hour answers to any block development, and it's not a reason to reject the team. The universality game. The question of this debate is whether it's of the universal versus the particular, the starting point that you should use to understand the world, make decisions about how you should act, is the ethical and political significance when the 2 AR and should make from the assumption that there are norms and values that should begin and have universal relevance like liberty, equity, and social solidarity. They've dropped the impact systems of particular like colonialism, racial capitalism, or planetary catastrophes that outweigh because they universally threaten humanity with unfreedom, inequality, and extinction that's happened to different people in different ways. But you know that they're universal, so they're bad no matter what in any logic that says their impact can outweigh or relies on particular logics that we impact. Their first argument is that none of these cards are about black people. It's a rejection of your political strategy. All of our offense on Black History Month on the case page should apply here, and forcing us to have cards about black people is obviously tokenizing, which I'll explain below. They say it's anti-black. It's obviously it's not anti-black. We're saying that universal strategies are necessary to solve systems like racial capitalism, which is an all-solves case argument that they haven't grappled with because the 2AC flips through this and basically no arguments necessary is a permutation, and you should reject the pyramid. The alternative endorses a particular strategy of breaking down syllabus, or the affirmative embrace a particular strategy of breaking down civil defense through atomic countermeasures, and we said that we should adopt a universal starting point instead of that too. You know that they're mutually exclusive political strategies. Yes, like there was no warrant in the 2AC, so you should strike it, but the starting point that you use for evaluating the debate is more significant than the positions presented with affirmative frames. The struggle against the civil defense force and raise the particular McGowan 20. How one can see the struggle is always more significant than the side which takes into determines which side will be more appealing. We should not measure the victory by whose issues trauma, how we envision the struggle itself. We can't say within the issues even more than the position we take. Hammer battles more winnable before we fight and conceive the struggle in a way that we said the universality here. Except the rest of the starting point for politics is always individual. The struggle is already over and over, but universal ever group convincing matters what one chooses as the starting point. That answers the link argument. The last argument was the voting issue. This was answered above, which was just the conditionality argument that I answered on the advantage counterplan. Now the case page first argument that I'm answering is reject the team for homogenization. Don't reject the team. The card not applying to the app is a reason that it doesn't apply, and why you should strike the card from your sheet. Not a reason to reject the team. Just for the same reason you wouldn't reject us for reading Soko Impact in the 2AC to a Japan pro-left DA. Now the Black History Month argument, we did not drop this. We have multiple reasons why Black History Month should not change your impact calculus. First is burden of proof. You should force Long Beach to justify their advocacy and defeat topicality before bracketing out. We have impacted out clash and fairness on topicality, which proves that they should have to overcome that first. Their only answer to this was that traditional debate is anti-black, which was answered on the topicality flow. Second is no link. Topicality is an example of black liberation strategy proven by all of our offense on clash. It's not lazy argumentation. This was proven in cross-examination. They were unable to provide a bright line for what constitutes a black liberation strategy, and have no reason why topicality is not one other than their offense on topicality, which proves that they need to win that flow before you can apply it here. Third is tokenization. The changing your impact calculus allows you to feel off the hook for entering a W on tab room. This also answers all of their jump instruction. If we win that their model is bad, that's sufficient. They say reject the team. Don't reject us for not saying names. It forces tokenization in order to avoid losing grounds, because racist teams would just name drop people who are part of Black history and debate in order to avoid taking a loss. They say the fourth topicality comes first for Black history month to affect topicality. They need to first win the topicality is racialized and targets black debaters. That was robustly contested in the 2NC and is inaccurate. There's no monolithic competition of black debate. I'll answer their arguments here. Their first argument is urgency. They don't solve it. The strategies knowing that's already outside of the debate space, and they can introduce black liberation strategies, and we can negate it in other ways other than presenting a counter black liberation strategy, i.e. topicality, as we've done in this debate, which tests whether or not their model of debate is good. Their next argument is that we've never seen this before. This is false. Honoring the black radical tradition is not something that all teams should be forced to do, which was all of our tokenization offense in order to win, because all the teams that would do it, because teams that would do it in bad faith, which link turns all of their offense. The next argument is the Jackson evidence and the oppositional voter. This is not a racist reaction. We don't think that the Black History Month is necessarily oppositional. We said that the way that it would get deployed in the debate space is bad, not the way that they've deployed it specifically, but that broadly changing your impact calculus to account for it is not good. We're changing your calculus fails. Read. Focus on emerging black accomplishments dovetails with the notion that poverty and economic equality from demoralization, self-esteem, cultural politics, and can be understanding complex forces that shape like narratives and homogenized black history in ways that erase nuances and tensions that would be important for making sense of contemporary black life. They say tying it valid is good. That's wrong. It artificially elevates the stakes of competition and creates a false choice between negative and affirming black history. Vote negative to celebrate Black History Month and endorse a model of debate with topical action. The next argument that it's ending is extinction rhetoric good. They basically dropped that as key to empathy in order to solve their impacts. The only answer to this is that it is an assertion that white people will survive, which is not warranted, and that's not why we care about it, which was impacted above. It externally solves nuclear war. Bernstein, 18 students today have both experience born after Cold War, mature not understand weapons versus possibility, nuclear energy, technical religious student in the American public doesn't care ever they or knowledge actually change educating students have long-term effects public is motivated leaders hold account for nuclear policy, reduce risk of nuclear war exposure in educational context to be useful for students. Also, the empathy argument was dropped and solves the case because talking about nuclear conflict is able to solve all of their offense. The last argument that I'm answering is the role of the judge. The role of the judge is determine who did the better debating, and how self-serving is arbitrary. It is answered in the Black History Month procedural.
It was like 9.
Is the TVA just like the disarm one?
Well, we had a few. Do you want me to just list them?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Let me find it. So we said you could read Disarm or NFUF that embraces nuclear risk, that says ending the arsenal, ends nuclear deterrence, and say like that creating nuclear risk is good. And then you could eliminate a triad-leg or a disarm nukes to collapse American hegemony. And then we said you could read any topical variant with an advantage about global movements. And we just generally said you could also have like reps advantages, but you know. So.
while we're waiting, there's no cards. The order is going to be case, the critique, and then the framework.
Case critique framework?
Yeah.
Actually, it's a ballot pick.
The case page, you said the ballot pick. Case, the ballot pick, the critique framework. Mission, Diego. Alright, cool.
Zero presumption argument means that the absolute entirety of the case disarming civil defense to a top man feature solved self-violence by bearing witness and enemies by getting rid of the root cause, logic, bearing witness in the moment, and black erasure is necessary because the cow guys movement, the one you see back off the evidence, gives a historical example, but they have not means the absolute entirety of the case like the civil rights movement, black history month, go to now if the one you see does not present a literary method for black people, they have not met the murder joined for black history month before our interpretation across the black Congo here because this month required your commitment to black history month be unconditional, one we challenge urgency, text and engagement, academic, book ban, etc. Or roll the ballot necessary to use this space to resist the strategy. Debate is necessary, which will be on framework, but this community racist black voices will be on the framework page. Engaging through black liberation strategy is necessary framework. You should be forced to engage the lit. You drop that as necessary to break down white terms and subjectivity in debate because it forces you over time to be better viewed as alternative. That they provide have dinner discussions to black history means only you have to solve D. Next is at the black anti-nuclear activists out of nowhere in the scene of the topic are left to the wayside. The decision not to honor any black nuclear forces the independent reason reject team, but they have dropped because of reputation wages. The ballot not challenge the way we get to here. The ballot changes the way we get to here. That will be on framework. Also, you thinking his opposition of the racist belief that the Jackson evidence as a reactionary reason reject team still they drop the Jackson evidence in any fairness argument on here the impact of difference because you should embrace black action, black unfairness and silver black voices and form reparation. Jackson said these disruptive foreign challenge white supremacy this come before the burn of the teacher debate is traditionally anti-black. They have not defined, they have not denied history telling a PRL to try to work complicity and it proves our arguments on this flow because it proves that they are willing to erase black history and fair for going for T. Also topicality is not a black liberation strategy. Nothing about framework the method for black resistance to a C. Not isolating a single time on framework or any TV talking about black people will be later with it proves that you've dropped out of all debate criteria. People like David Love, Fulton, MM, etc. that prove that there's no tokenization because it's about methods, not representation. I take out every argument trying to go for. You do not vote negatively. They have not said any names back. Also, no link to the read evidence. They're just we are not just representation. We present a model in a way to give black method, but also have a way to create black futures. Do enemies with means of the voting issue. Reason reject team because because it says that we should not water down black resistance because it makes identifying anti-black history words as a double turn to the Bible argument framework and the double turn to the one or when he said you can vote negative to affirm black history but not vote out. That's the biggest organization impact and double turn to all the stuff about black history not being bad because the idea that you get about for the work is done is a form of erasure for black people. Also return to over the topic of nuclear policy are bad. If we just saw framework impact turn it applies here. The ballot pick one perm. They dropped out. You should vote after the decline negative to decline Michigan's negation there in part to spectators. The ballot pick is a double turn because it allows USG focus would be on framework. Also conditionality not solved very often because about inward reform not about conditional advocacy in their way or for fairness the K go to now one color line is turned. None of the cards about black people mean that it does not solve the affirmative. The K requires you to reject black argument for the K requires you to reject black argumentation was a winner set. Also universalizing discourse of threats anti-black drop back off evidence cross flight bear witness here is asking the link term because it means that after free children will like communities together drops out the card they reside the authors like I do prove that we universalize structure and do structure against an identity perm to the app perm to both no link we're not anti-humanism we are after free children and sure black survival make your anthem commitment to liberation of people colors of voting issue go the framework now what we do not expect fairness to history to be handled unfair to black people the PR locker room legacy of fairness being used to escape some of the discussion etc. to accentuate the definition of 1 week so people do not expose limit the core of the topics about the process of nuclear disarm not about the act towards reasonability checks reasonability good enough and competing and to ignore it makes the intervention inevitable also is a reason and it's about the US means there's no international fear resolving to analyze disarming the abolish that allows us not to raise in the debate nuclear forces include infrastructure include civil defense we meet our counterfeiting we disarm civil defense also the recall behind me wrong and delivery say entire view throw out the window metaphor connection arguments as well as counter interpretation in one and get resolution to states points counter negative radical duration do legal counsel Long Beach etc whether it's counter white institution one the net benefit one in the benefit go to warrior force the case the more you learn about the history of that line the history of present makes us better people that's
Smith to answer the description for what radical is. And Smith's competition is good. They say debate doesn't subjectivity, but they're wrong one. While we clash over marriage is the process of debate more, you're simplified to debate. Traditionally, the more you understand the world through the traditional lens that do not revolutionary politics. What we do shapes us. Our time here does shape us. We spend hours of activity which outweighs family, friends, school. Also, for Evan Smith, and study of the community. Go to class, one, they run a case or comment, the end argument, solve all our offense, they drop that. Yeah, against that, we can argue Afrofuturism, a bad turn, picks out the very one, egg argument, 7. We do not want you to read the deterrence. It's how we said that if you could justify the method, when you have not approved that active defense on the ground, they won't also group the strengths. One is friends, we're impact turning, therefore, friends, one civil defense is out to fear that chaos. We were in debate the form of civil defense they use firm as a way to relegate it out the events and pick us out because they see KGB after versus threatening and dangerous to their prejudice model debate is form of nuclear penetrability for the present evidence that get exploited to World War crisis and make the crew crazy nuclear posture expensive blackness only our model can solve it. Their defense of user fairness is utopian and erase how judges impose their beliefs and around against black debaters. Also prefer liberatory fairness and counterpetition to expand the circle of fairness life for identity argument that allows for the fairness, the liberatory people, the liberation for people of color. Also prefer reasonability on fairness or the F on the side of inclusion because over limiting is bad. Also reject the ballot pick, still the Afro black and ballot is key, especially on Black History Month is bad. Limit to one T that don't defend the direct nuclear and consider things like T, like free T tactics, pregnancy, etc. But also limits they don't solve it. Every small app be under generic every top all the apps under their model. Also overlimiting is worse. It turns they're often rebuttals. I did the more negative ground. I did that above the TVA one. The TVA is bad. Does not talk about black people future or anything about the one C proof like not access the app. Which means they either link back to the which means that they link back to the paternalization. The argument they made above the appropriation just have black activism on nuclear story that came from the form of local organizing and then realizing that it had to be anti-white supremacy to be anti-nuclear means the app and counterpetition is the same question for how we understand nuclear demands and formulate the TVA versus the story for both a misreading of black history and also the form of racial origin after reads project to see and allow white people to crop people like MLK also doesn't solve the app feature in their performances will get crowded out because it seems to only respond to the plan, so not the one see with large. The switch side debate one, like anti-nuclearism, dissatisfied crossed by the clash as well, their division of ground, rules and distant counter debate that still happen on the same economic terrain, and if you deterrent sole purpose of counter plan, to promote US where people of color oversight to read top-down articles and cause the game, to be reading in favor of traditional arguments, making they could win the K up about us as students debating nuclear discussion that only replicates the same logic as the nuclear process. Reading the violence will go. Also reading BHM on negative does not solve it. Means that you. Is there a certain argument to make this?
It's just like reading BHM on the negative proves that they're trying to avoid.
Like you saying we are negative is proof and indicative of the way you try to erase black studies or black history when it's important to you to preserve a certain space that has been historically fucked up to black people. It proves you engage in black rage, but only the counterfeit gets solved.
Universality K, last argument was a voting issue. What was it?
Wait, say it again.
The last argument on the universality K was a reason to reject the team. What was the argument?
It was the ethical commitment stuff.
Oh, the condo stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. under no link to the read evidence, there was another voter double turned something on the case page.
Case page. Oh yeah, because like in the one you were just like you can vote negative to affirm Black History Month and then something else, and it's just like
Like you said,
that's the example. So
yeah, that as well.
Okay, sure.
universality, then case.
Can you say the word one more time?
Yeah, T, the Academy K, universality case.
arguments are equally valued, so it's not said now the Academy saying we did not concede the pro conceding no impacts of the means that there's no reason to decline affirmation. Talking comes through speaks meaning there. One was better submission, it's not a double term because it tests whether the ballot was key universality. Concede the pro test promise no offense voting issue. It's wrong drive the talking is good for black certainty, innovation as well as that flexibility which is impacting on T. Now case, do not change your decision calculus because of Black History Month. One burden of further interpretation. Lowers the word for after degree by reckoning out next charges are the black liberation charges supplements. Intermittent testing over absence and find whether it is a good idea and links to all of our fairness, offense, and tolerability because in areas of ground that we're able to prepare for. Their argument about how traditional debaters anti-black was answered on T2, no link. They don't have to determine what. They don't have the right to constitute exactly what black liberation should look like for everyone. T is obviously that. The organization, their model encourages racist teams to organize black liberation strategy. Also lets you off the hook by entering the top. On top of nothing else, this answers their arguments about listing black debaters. It was not drawn to organize this. Those debaters because teams would just list them without caring and see what the one and see. They do not solve racist opportunity. This was lectured about an opposition voter is wrong. They dropped that. We don't think that it's oppositional. It's simply just counterproductive, not a voter. We think that voting act is not completely thinking about what history left being important proven by our offense and team. We just don't think that it should affect your impact calculus. Debaters on nuclear policy are good. They dropped that the united humanity under a common frame which breeds empathy necessary to solve for their impacts, which is necessarily justification for the TV and it's no reason why you should air that. Lastly, topicality comes first. It's a question of whether the 1AC should be read. It's independent proof that the 1AC's form was bad and why they were unable to affirm black liberation and why we're better.
Yeah.
Michigan.
Disarming civil defense through Afro futures and solve by getting rid of the root cause bearing witness in the moment of black erasure is necessary because the catalyzed movements drop when you see solvency of background and del sol always reach before movements bearing witness of black liberation struggles is good and spell out things of the valid means it should be a framing for how you view how you should resolve the Black History Month debate. Remember the names that Michigan still has decided not to name: Breonna Taylor, Letitia King, Ahmaud Arbery, Ernest Wilkins, Edwin Russell Muddy, Taylor Alfred Gardner, Enrico Fermi, George Reed, all people who priority black liberation strategies through Afrofuturism, Davon Love, etc. All names that we have honored on Black History Month. The dependent method of Afrofuturism that Michigan has refused to honor. Remember the interpretation of the one seat does not present a competing black liberatory method that they have not been. The printer majority of Black History Month, you should prefer our interpretation. They have zero, and drop the urgency standard, which means this comes first over T. We'll read this 1,000 times more, but only we have one month to challenge anti-black erasure in educational spaces. We challenge that urgency. They drop that locale determines the urgency of this question. Texas is engaging academic movements, and it has served as the catalyst for movements across the nation, which means inserting critical race theory into this space is necessary. The community erasing black voices, which will be on framework, and negating it through library of black liberation struggle is necessary. In February, you should be forced to engage because they have dropped that it is necessary to break down white subjectivity because over time, as you learn to engage in black liberation methods, you learn more ethical engagement. It's with it. You lose every time you pour into violence, or you lose every time you engage in misappropriation of the scholarship. The alternative that Michigan has spotted is zero discussion, which is dropped. Second, black anti-nuclear activists are nowhere seen in topic and are left to the wayside. Still, dropped the decision to not honor any of the black nuclear voices of the methods they present was an independent reason of how they have replicated erasure. Remember the Jackson evidence. Any fairness argument on framework is the impact term because you embrace acts of black unfairness to celebrate black violence as a form of reparations. The Jackson evidence says that these disruptive acts are challenge white supremacy and racialized deployment of framework. Any risk we win one example of debate being anti-black under their traditional interpretation means that you should affirm the affirmative or the counter model. This comes first before any burden of the proof on T because traditional debate is anti-black. They have not denied our historical telling of the PRL. They have just tried to avoid their complicity in it. Topicality is not a black liberation strategy because nothing about framework provides a method of black resistance. The twin are did not isolate any single time that framework resulted in more equity. We have consistently dropped people like Davon Lowe or Fulton and Amendment, created the conditions for debate to spill out and form Napoleon's policy, which means we are better for or black liberation. There is no organization argument because instead they have affirmed to organization themselves. Every time they say, for example, Black History Month matters, vote negative, or we access their arguments. You should ask yourself why, who have they named, what types of examples of policy affirmatives would enact black liberation. They have listed none. They have listed a bunch of vague examples when they talked about hegemonic anti-nuclearism as a form of TVAs, but have never listed why those TVAs are an example of black liberation, which means you should automatically reject them on face. Traditional versions of nuclear policy are bad because every dissent on framework impact terms of education. None of the evidence is about empathy, and it doesn't solve nuclear war because of the educational impacts we're going for. Framework is a violent tool that has been used to criminalize police people, coach, to prevent radical forces from engaging with decades further resolutions to preserve a space dominated by PRL. That is an extension of the same white supremacist logic that Michigan seeks to avoid. From Elizabeth Jones talking about police shooting black people dead in the street at Cal Berkeley, diminishing their work with framework from the PRL meetings happening in secret with NDAs in order to secretly create ways to stop the emergence of chaos and debates. To the current uniqueness question that end this debate being sued by white conservatives for the non-USG Center as allegedly discriminating against white people. The uniqueness question with this debate is that you as an educator background must align yourself with against black erasure and vote for CSU in order to affirm black history in educational spaces. It doesn't matter if it was first read against Bowman teams because our argument is that it has evolved and is currently a form of black erasure. Only the affirmatives can solve. Michigan's arguments about not being able to spill up outside of here is wrong, being the examples of epistemological growth, DOD, etc. But even if you think they're right about a ballot for CSU not being able to stop bans once you vote out, our argument is that it is about in here and how we align ourselves to combat black erasure and celebrate black history in educational spaces like Texas that are committed to white neurologists that seek to exclude black and brown engagement. Extend the counter model, which acts as the filter for how you think which model will solve best. Extend the counter model first extend the definitions impact term United States acting in the plain text. Some people challenge white exclusion. No link to any of the ground decides that they lose because remember this topic is about the process of disarmament, not necessarily the actor. Disarm means to abolish nuclear forces, including infrastructure communication. Dropped our we meet to our own counter interpretation, which means that you should not allow a vague extension of a no we meet argument. Civil defense is a nuclear communication as per the Ritchie and Preston evidence, and infrastructure includes civil defense. Us saying no link on the deterrence side is not indicative of whether or not we actually disarm because every app will always try to no link a disarm, but it's clear that to disarm their civil defense rights to require the infrastructure associated with it, and our evidence says that is nuclear forces, which means they could have read it, but they would have to justify how it is a form of black liberation, which obviously wouldn't extend the counter model affirmation engaged the resolution to radical states, which means affirming the restriction of U.S. nuclear force through a critical perspective. This includes abolition, international, etc. Drop that our negative ground is better. Extend the 2C 1 examples. Every 2NR and 2C example of ground loss was no deterrence. This happened. Our argument is that you should open the space for method debates, cost and black resistance because that's the only way you can properly properly affirm Black history month. This app versus pessimism, or this app versus Black Marxism, or app versus decolonization are all substantive debates that link very hard. The only reason Michigan or even you, Becca, might be confused as to why that's true is because none of y'all have been forced to think critically about Black methods. But if you ask us, Wake, or any Louisville debater, they would be able to give you a strong case for why these debates are full of links to revolutionary clash. You will never figure it out under their model, but only under ours. Extending that benefits to epistemological goals. Uncovering these forgotten histories allows for debate debates to become a training ground for futures such as Towson, Syria, TL, OK, Lucian, Chicago, Fullerton, MM, starting immigration law firms, which opens the path, the path for subject formation. The arguments about fairness is tautological. Drop the top of the one-year argument that says that we do not expect fairness. Every example of debate being anti-Black toward Black debaters disproves this argument, which is why we introduced a new standard of liberatory fairness that does not require traditional notions of fairness, but rather that you should give more weight to Black liberation methods rather than their stuff. They say the switch side debate arguments are all impacted by the Black History Month argument because if our argument is that if their performance in this round is not censored Black debaters, then it means that you should not vote for them. Their entire arguments about how we're tokenistic, they are more tokenistic than us because they say Black debaters engage under their model, which is not a Black method. That's just individuals.
Okay, good debate. Hard job for anything. Probably good. I'll leave it.
Didn't have a lot of time to decide this one. I voted negative on the limits DA, and primarily also I was not sure how a negative team could rejoin because I wasn't sure what constitutes a method for Black liberation and what doesn't. 13 minutes after the debate ended to sift through everything. It may or may not be the most carefully decided debate of all time, but I'm going to try to sift through what I just said I voted on. So I hear that the ballot should go to the team that provides the best method for Black liberation. Throughout the debate, both teams discuss what is the threshold for determining what constitutes a method for Black liberation, or how do you prove or verify that something is a method for Black liberation, or how do you prove or verify something uplifts rather than erases Black voices in a debate, and like whether or not white judges could or should be the arbiter of yes, no, this is a method of Black liberation presented in a debate, thus they have met their burden of honoring Black History Month. Earlier in the debate, in a cross-ex, the AF says arguments must be couched in the Black radical tradition. It's also said like it would require naming Black individuals in like any of the speeches. So those are some things that I hear. I'm somewhat sympathetic to with this little information about what constitutes a method for Black liberation. It's somewhat likely that people in the debate community who are forced to negate you will try to simply name one Black debater or author and then think they're off the hook. I'm similarly lost at the phrasing of if you think Black History Month matters, then vote neg. I think what you're trying to say is just if you want the content of the AF to be debated and tested, or find real strategies to address problems identified in A1AC, then the NEGS model of framework is necessary in order to create ways for the negative team to be able to have clash in the majority of their debates. So I might phrase it like that, because I definitely don't understand if you think Black history matters, then vote neg on framework in the abstract. In the vision of framework, clearly more affirmatives are allowed in if nuclear forces can include infrastructure and communication or discourse. The neg is trying to say that that would include very small affirmatives, such as 2 individual debaters as the actor, or 1 politician could essentially commit to a no first use, that the neg can basically never have a link to core negative ground, but maybe not to ground to anything, given that they're saying link arguments to any position, DAK, solvency for counter plans, all of those things would require a substantial enough change from the status quo and typically assume a policy action undertaken by the government. And if we expand the topic to include international actors or actions too, then the NEG would just be researching until the end of time to make sure that they have arguments that apply not just to your AF, but to everything that could be an AF. The flip side is the AF says that this overlimits. It would mean that Black voices are erased in the process of finding an affirmative that most negative teams are more easily able to contest, and that Black voices are erased. That also complicates the ability for possible spill up outside of rounds for Black liberation too, and that's violent to exclude that possibility, and that actually there is a lot of viable ground that critique teams know about, but maybe white debaters and white judges like myself might miss, but teams like Wake Forest might know because of research they're doing. That puts me in a tough position to evaluate, is the 1AC actually full of areas that link and Michigan is just wrong, and that this interpretation would have a lot of automatically predictable ground that in a debate between two teams of basically equal skill where the NEG would have some shot to win ever. So that was tough to evaluate in the 13 minutes which of those things mattered more, that there be some limit to preserve some fair ground for the negative ever, or the idea that the content of the AF uplifting Black voices would be erased if this was not allowed to be an affirmative case. So I guess I wish more time was spent on the comparison between the limits offense that they're going for and the over-limiting offense that you are going for directly. I think another option for the AF is like this bit where you get to saying that switch side debate, we've answered it, but I think the thing that most would erase Black voices in their model is the advocacy of switch side debate, which says you just read it on the NEG only would silence Black voices in half of their debates. And that seems like the concept that links most to the Black erasure arguments to me as they were debated in this round. So hopefully that provides a summary of some of the issues I thought about when I was making a decision. If you've got questions, feel free to ask. I know there's also lunch now, but definitely feel free to ask.
I feel like that all makes sense. Is there anything in particular, like, you think the 1 AR like could have been better on to like help the 2 AR like path to resistance be a little easier? Or is there any like particular like problems or things that you liked from the 1 AR?
I don't think that the going to some of the other flows is getting as much mileage as maybe you want it to, unless you really want to sit on this thing that's being phrased as conditionality, but really it's it's more nuanced than that your ethical commitment should be to Black liberation, and you should have to fully invest in this advocacy, and you shouldn't be allowed to just decide to eliminate that as a 2NR option.
Yeah.
Like that argument, if you want that to be in the 2AR, I see why the 1AR would need to spend time there, but some of the other flows in the 1AR to spend as much time, maybe that's an area for, I would not resequence the order the 1AR is going, but to take some time away from the other flows in order to get to our primary disadd to framework and our primary push for why the case comes before framework, and it would also allow you some more time to describe what would be like, I don't like the word threshold or bright line or whatever, but kind of what does constitute a Black liberation method that would be something that we think rejoins the affirmative, or we think that would in a genuine way honor Black History Month.
That makes sense. I think honestly everything else makes sense. I don't know if you have a question.
No.
That all makes sense the phraseology of that, did you think there was anything else that 2NR could have done to make the decision easier?
Well, the thing that I wanted to suggest, which doesn't super address the question you just asked, but I think to set up the 2NR, I think you should reorganize the way that what the block is and is not choosing to extend, where if you don't think that this critique is something that your 2NR would ever be, then like perhaps the 1NR should just be the case, and the presumption argument and the argument I was saying that you did a fine job within this debate for, we don't really know what constitutes a method for Black liberation, which isn't like an argument for why they wouldn't solve, but is an argument that would help you in some ways with framework, and why the negative can't then rejoin it, and why you wouldn't be able to have research about that would meaningfully contest the affirmative or make their strategy better.
That makes sense. Thank you. Good debate.
Good debate. Thank you very much.